Welcome to CEO Insights. I'm Marilyn de Guzman with investingnews.com. I'm speaking with Jeff Gander, Chairman and CEO of Jupiter Energy. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Marilyn. How are you?
Good to see you again. It's the first time we're having a conversation. Maybe we can start off with just the value proposition, the brief overview of Jupiter Energy, its history, shareholder compositions, and key leadership team.
Sure. Well, Jupiter Energy is an ASX-listed oil and gas producer. Our assets are in Kazakhstan on the west coast, near the port city of Akkar. We have 3 oil fields. We've delineated 3 oil fields, and we have our last independent reserve report confirmed 2P of about 36.5 million barrels recoverable. So that's the sort of quantum of size asset we have. We're currently in production. We have our full production licenses in place through to 2046, 2045, 46, depending on which field. And we're producing around 30 barrels a day. We employ a 100% Kazakh workforce. We have about 50 people located in Akkar, half in the field, half in the city. We use third-party contractors for a lot of our like drilling, so the high-end sort of work like drilling, etc. But the core staff are full-time, and we're cash flow positive. We are sort of looking to go to the next phase of our growth, I guess. Yeah.
Right. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about Kazakhstan. Why is it a good area to operate in for oil exploration and production, especially in the region where you are at?
Yeah, well, it's a country well known for its oil. It has enormous reserves. Some of the major producers have been in this country for many years, the likes of Chevron and CNPC and others, and with some very, very large fields discovered in the Soviet era, and now more recently the likes of Kazakhstan, etc., have been brought on as well. So a major producing oil country. The challenge perhaps for the smaller companies is more trying to find your piece in that market. And we came here several years ago, obviously, delineated or found an area of exploration, rank exploration, and then proceeded to explore and drill and find obviously oil fields and wells, etc. So we have sort of built from the ground up. But so we're at the sort of more junior end of Kazakhstan. But the good news is we're in an area with surrounded by infrastructure. There's some major oil fields nearby. So we're not looking to create anything new in that regard. It's more a matter of integrating into an existing infrastructure of around the area.
Yeah. Investors are listening, watching this video right now, might probably wondering, what about your sales performance and profitability? Could you talk about your strategy for boosting your production and how you're funding that strategy?
Sure. Well, the good news is over the last couple of years, our revenues have doubled as we've moved, bolstered our production and moved into sort of this production phase. And one thing is important to note is that all our oil at the present time is sold into the domestic market. So whilst we have permission now with our licenses to sell into the export market, we don't really have the volumes to make that a viable proposition at the moment. So our biggest focus at the moment now is to continue to drill in our 3 oil fields, bolster production, take it from the current 650 barrels a day through 1,000, 1,500 and so forth. And then we believe we'll be better positioned to enter the export market. But in the meantime, we sell it domestically, we make money domestically, and as I say, we've seen our cash flows and our revenues double in the last 12 months, and we'll continue to do that. The focus at the moment now is to make that next range of investment into the drilling of new wells. And that's where our focus is at.
And speaking of that next round of investment, you are getting ready to list in the Kazakhstan AIX. What was the rationale for pursuing this dual listing? Because you're currently listed in the ASX. How much are you hoping to raise?
Well, the rationale for listing on the Astana International Exchange was that we're a Kazakh story, and we felt that the Kazakh investor is probably the best investor to understand their own jurisdiction as opposed to perhaps other jurisdictions. So with I guess it's all about the timing, though. You've got to be able to take a value proposition to market at the appropriate time. And we felt that we now offer an investment to the Kazakh investor that's pretty. It's an investable story. We've got all our licenses, we've got proven oil, et cetera, et cetera. So our focus now is to list on the AIX, do a dual listing. Obviously, we'll retain our ASX listing, and we're working with Kazakhstan's largest investment bank, AIX Finance, in that area, and our expectations are to raise up to $5 million USD with this next round. So that our focus is basically get the raising done, predominantly to retail investors here, and having got that additional funding in, drill at least 2 new production wells and get that production up through 1,500 barrels a day.
Yeah, and Kazakhstan has announced its aim to have carbon neutrality by 2060. So as a company operating there, how are you aligning your strategy and your objectives with that national goal?
Well, it certainly is a national goal, and it has quite a lot of focus from the Ministry of Energy. So we have been in the fortunate situation, I guess, in the last 12 months to be working quite closely with the Ministry of Energy in terms of our own gas utilization challenges. Just to recap, in order to be in full production in this country, you're not allowed to flare your associated gas. So a gas that's produced when you produce oil cannot just be simply flared into the air. You've got to have an infrastructure in place to utilize it. That can be quite a timely and costly affair to put the infrastructure in place. So the rationale driven by the ministry was for us to integrate with a nearby, much larger producer whose oil and reserve base is maturing. So their gas output has been declining over recent years. So they have a desire to get additional gas to complement their own operations, and any excess gas that they don't require that we've passed through to them can then be passed on to the community to create energy or other community activities that are good for the local environment. So for us, it was a win-win-win. We were able to deal with our gas utilization issues to enable us to push through to unconstrained production. We're able to pass that on to our neighbour, who was also able to utilize some of that gas, and then the rest of it went to the community. So I think that is one good example that we've been involved in recent times, where the government are definitely focused on this issue and are helping producers like us and our neighbour to come up with solutions.
And then that's certainly a win-win-win, as you said. So where is that infrastructure project now? Is it already in position? You're already diverting the gas to that?
It is. We have 3 oil fields, as I said earlier. 2 of those oil fields are now integrated into our neighbours' infrastructure. So all our gas passes through to them. That obviously some that we may still require on the field for our own use, but the rest goes through to our neighbour. And the 3rd field will be integrated by the end of the year. And in fact, we've just started the purchase process and tendering process to complete that work. So by the end of the year, all 3 oil fields will be integrated, and currently two already are. So we've made significant progress, and I think we're a good example that others are now looking at locally to see perhaps how they can do the same thing.
Definitely. So what are some of the upcoming catalysts that investors should expect from the company in the near term?
Well, certainly the AIX listing, I think, is an important one, and we're working on that, and I expect us to issue the document, the prospectuses, etc., in relation to that in the coming weeks, and finalise that probably by mid-June. So that's important. Then the funding from that we raise will go to drilling, at least, as I said before, 1 or 2 production wells, and we expect to spud the first production well really pretty soon in the second half of the year, probably in July. So that'll be very interesting and important. The other major project we've got ongoing at the moment is the reprocessing of our 3D seismic. The original data was shot back in 2010, and a lot of technology evolution since then. So we are pretty excited about the opportunity to now reprocess and reinterpret that data and hopefully identify more drilling opportunities on the field. So they're not only drilling new wells, but also looking at the existing data and trying to find more targets for the ongoing development of the field. And I guess the other thing is working with AIX Finance. There's two aspects that they're helping us raise capital for the AIX listing, but we're also going to look at working with them with some M&A opportunities as well. So hopefully that'll present some interesting opportunities for the company over the next 1 to 2 years.
Lots of new things to discuss in the coming months with you. Thanks again, Jeff, for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you very much. Good to talk to you. Bye-bye.
And thanks everyone for watching. Join us again next time for another edition of CEO Insights.